This is my life, not yours. This is not for you. No guns.
Is it better to be loved or feared?
I would rather be feared.
Now Youse can't leave. 4 simple words that sent chills down the spines of moviegoers in 1993.
Now you can't leave.
But did you know that the man who wrote and delivered this iconic line was actually fired as a bouncer just minutes before he decided to create this masterpiece? Or that Robert De Niro's directorial debut almost never happened because Hollywood wanted to replace the writer with a bigger name? Welcome to Primetime Throwback, where we uncover the stories behind cinema's most gripping crime classics that shaped a generation. The year is 1993, Goodfellas and The Godfather. Part 3 are still fresh in viewers' minds when a relatively unknown actor named Chazz Palminteri teams up with Robert De Niro to create what would become one of the most authentic portrayals of life in the Italian-American neighborhoods of New York. But the story behind A Bronx Tale is far more fascinating than most people realize. Fired and forgotten, the birth of a classic. Picture this, it's the late 1980s. Palminteri is working as a nightclub bouncer, struggling to make ends meet while pursuing his acting dreams. One fateful night, he refuses entry to an extremely rude customer who, unbeknownst to him, happens to be Swifty Lazar, one of Hollywood's most powerful agents. Within 15 minutes, Palminteri finds himself unemployed. Broke and desperate, he returns to his tiny apartment and makes a decision that will change his life forever. With just $200 to his name, he buys a few legal pads and begins writing about the most traumatic experience from his childhood, witnessing a murder on his own street at the age of 9. What many viewers don't realize is that Calogero isn't just a character. He's Chazz Palminteri, the neighborhood gangster Sonny shooting a man in broad daylight. Palminteri witnessed it. That pivotal moment when young Calogero refuses to identify the killer to police? That actually happened. But here's where it gets really interesting. The $1 million rejection. After developing his one-man show, performing all 18 characters himself in Los Angeles theaters, Hollywood came calling. Studios offered Palminteri up to $1 million for the rights, an astronomical sum for a struggling actor in the late 80s. But there was a catch. They wanted someone else to play Sonny. Every major studio wanted him to step aside for actors like Sylvester Stallone or John Travolta. $1 million to walk away. Would you have taken it? Palminteri refused. He continued performing his play, living paycheck to paycheck, believing in himself when nobody else would. Then one night, Robert De Niro walked into the theater. De Niro, fresh off Goodfellas, was visibly moved by the performance. Backstage, he made Palminteri an offer that defied all Hollywood logic. I'll direct it, you'll play Sonny, you'll write the screenplay, and I'll play your father. De Niro's unexpected choice. What makes this partnership so remarkable is that nobody expected De Niro to choose the role of Lorenzo, the hard-working, honest bus driver. Here was Hollywood's most celebrated gangster actor, the man who brought Jake LaMotta and young Vito Corleone to life, choosing to play against type as a working-class father. When pressed about this decision, De Niro revealed something profound. I've played gangsters, that's easy for me. But playing a man who chooses right over wrong every single day of his life, that's the real challenge. What many critics missed was that De Niro wasn't just directing, he was exorcising his own demons. As a father who had struggled to balance career and family, Lorenzo's desperate attempts to shield his son from the neighborhood's corruption mirrored De Niro's own anxieties. The forbidden romance. They tried to cut, but perhaps the most controversial aspect of the film was its exploration of racial tensions. The romance between Calogero and Jane, a black girl from a neighboring community, wasn't just a subplot. It was drawn directly from Palminteri's real experiences growing up during the civil rights era. Studio executives pushed hard to remove this storyline, arguing that the father-son relationship was enough to carry the film. Nobody wants to see that in a mob movie, one executive reportedly told De Niro. But both De Niro and Palminteri understood something fundamental about storytelling, that authentic, messy realities resonate far more than sanitized narratives. The prophecy that came true. Did you know that just before filming his powerful car scene, De Niro took the young actor Lilo Brancato Jr. aside and made him a chilling promise? After this film, you're going to get offers. People will throw money at you. And if you make the wrong choices, you'll lose everything. 8 years later, Brancato would be arrested for his role in a burglary that resulted in the death of a police officer. He would spend the next 8 years in prison. Hey, if you're enjoying this deep dive into one of cinema's most underappreciated classics, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join Primetime Throwback. We're bringing you the real stories behind the crime films that defined an era, the moments that didn't make it into the history books, and drop a comment letting us know which iconic film you want us to explore next. Few viewers realize that De Niro, despite his legendary status, was terrified about his directorial debut. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he called Martin Scorsese, asking for advice. Scorsese's guidance was simple but profound. Tell the truth. That's all that matters. Love versus fear. The question no other mob movie dared ask. What truly sets A Bronx Tale apart from other mob films is its central question: is it better to be loved or feared? While The Godfather and Goodfellas glorified power and control, Palminteri's story challenges the very foundation of the gangster myth. The film's most powerful revelation comes when Sonny, the man who ruled by fear, ultimately sacrifices himself out of love for Calogero. This theme resonated deeply with audiences who had grown tired of simplistic mob narratives. As Palminteri himself explained in a little-known 1994 interview, the real gangsters I knew weren't glamorous. They were sad, lonely men who couldn't maintain real relationships because everyone around them was terrified. The film's most haunting scene, where Sonny is gunned down at his own birthday celebration, carries a tragic irony few viewers caught. The killer was the father of the young man Sonny had murdered in the opening scene, a powerful illustration of the cycle of violence that defined these neighborhoods. But watch closely during Sonny's murder. As the shots ring out, Lorenzo can be seen rushing toward the door, coming to warn his rival that a hit was planned, a detail that reveals Lorenzo's fundamental decency. Real-life gangsters co-signed the movie's authenticity. The film's legacy continued to grow in unexpected ways. In 2007, Palminteri returned to his roots, performing the one-man show on Broadway to sold-out crowds. By 2016, it had evolved into a Broadway musical co-directed by De Niro himself, running for 700 performances before touring nationally. Perhaps the most overlooked aspect of A Bronx Tale is how it subtly connects to other crime classics of its era. The character of Carmine, played by Palminteri's real-life friend Frank Minucci, was based on several real Bronx figures who reportedly had connections to the Lucchese family, the same organization featured in Goodfellas. This wasn't just artistic license. It reflected the interconnected nature of organized crime in New York during this period. Former members of the real-life Bronx neighborhoods depicted in the film repeatedly praised its authenticity. One former gang member, who requested anonymity in a 2003 documentary, admitted, "That scene where the bikers walk into the bar and Sonny locks the door? That happened. Different neighborhood, different players, but it happened exactly like that." Conclusion. What's truly remarkable about A Bronx Tale is that it almost never saw the light of day. Had Palminteri accepted the $1 million offer and walked away, had De Niro chosen another project, cinema would have lost one of its most honest portrayals of life in these iconic neighborhoods. Sometimes the greatest stories come not from massive budgets or special effects, but from a simple commitment to truth. As we close this chapter of primetime Throwback, remember that the most powerful stories aren't about gangsters or violence. They're about choices. As Sonny tells young Calogero, the saddest thing in life is wasted talent. If you enjoyed this journey into the hidden history of A Bronx Tale, make sure to hit that subscribe button for primetime Throwback. We're bringing you the untold stories behind cinema's most iconic crime classics every week. Drop a comment below about your favorite moment from A Bronx Tale, and help us keep these legendary films alive for a new generation. Until next time, remember, the only thing that matters in storytelling is the truth.